The Galactic Concord ruled most of known space. It was not an empire, not officially. It was a council of ancient species who had survived long enough to believe survival meant wisdom. Their worlds were old. Their cities were grown, not built. Their fleets moved with slow confidence, like predators that had not needed to run for centuries. At the center of the Concord floated the Ring of Voices, a colossal station orbiting a blue giant star. From here, laws were spoken and wars were approved with calm voices and careful words. On this day, a new species was on the agenda. Humans, clicked High Speaker Threxel of the Vorn Collective. His many eyes narrowed as a hologram of Earth rotated in the chamber. A young species from a minor spiral arm. Barely unified. Barely spacefaring. Soft amusement rippled through the delegates. They split their world into nations, said Ambassador Lura of the Celathai, her translucent form glowing faintly. They fight each other constantly. Waste resources. Emotional. Loud. A species that still kills its own over ideas, added the Celt warlord, his armored limbs resting heavily on the floor. Pathetic. The projection shifted. Human ships appeared, angular, crude, patched together from old designs. Their weapons were chemical-based. Their shields were weak. They are not a threat, Threxel concluded. But their system lies near Concord trade lanes. They must be managed. The word was polite. The meaning was not. The vote passed easily. Humanity would be placed under limited protection status. No expansion beyond their system. No military growth beyond defensive needs. Their space would be patrolled by Concord fleets for their own safety. No one asked the humans if they agreed. On Earth, the message arrived as light bent and reassembled above the United Earth Council chamber. Secretary General Amara Vance watched the alien figures form. She did not sit. She stood straight, hands behind her back. You have been assessed, Threxel said without greeting. Your species lacks the stability required for full sovereignty. This decision is final. Amara's jaw tightened. You're telling us we're prisoners. Protected, corrected Lura gently. From yourselves. A murmur spread among the human delegates. You restrict our fleets, Amara said. Our research. Our expansion. That's not protection. The Celt warlord leaned forward. You are alive. That is enough. Silence followed. Then Amara smiled. It was small. Controlled. Dangerous. Humanity has survived plagues, extinctions, and ourselves, she said. We adapt. That's what we do. Threxel's eyes flicked. Adapt within your limits. The transmission ended. In orbit above Earth, Concord patrol ships arrived within days. They were massive, elegant, untouchable. Human media tried to stay calm. Human markets did not. And in the quiet places, deep military bunkers, research stations hidden in asteroid shadows, shipyards officially labeled civilian, plans began to change. Admiral Elias Rose stood before a tactical display showing Concord ship movements. They think we're children, he said. General Anika Rao folded her arms. Then they won't see it coming when we stop acting like one. Dr. June Park adjusted his glasses, eyes sharp. They restricted our weapons based on what they understand. Not what we can imagine. Rowe turned slowly. How long? Park hesitated. Then smiled. If we remove the safety limits? Rao answered for him. 10 years to surprise them. 20 to terrify them. Rowe nodded. Then we don't waste a second. Across human space, a quiet transformation began. Official ship designs stayed weak. Unofficial ones did not. Humans studied alien shields not to copy them, but to find their assumptions. They learned that Concord shields were optimized for energy weapons. So humans focused on kinetics. They learned that Concord fleets relied on centralized command AIs. So humans trained independent captains. They learned that ancient species hated unpredictability. So humans embraced it. While the galaxy slept in arrogance, humanity sharpened itself. 5 years later, the Concord barely noticed when a human mining convoy vanished near the border. 10 years later, pirate groups using unfamiliar tactics began hitting Concord supply lines. 20 years later, a Concord patrol fleet entered the Sol system without authorization. They never sent a report back. The galaxy paused. For the first time, someone whispered a question in the ring of voices. What exactly have the humans been doing? Far away on a darkened bridge, Admiral Rowe watched alien wreckage drift past Earth's orbit. Let them wonder, he said quietly, because humanity was done being underestimated, and the galaxy was about to learn what happened when it pushed too far. The silence terrified the Galactic Concorde more than any battle ever had. The patrol fleet sent to Seoul was not small. 5 cruisers, 2 command vessels, crewed by veterans who had crushed rebellions older than human history. They never reported back. At first, the Concorde assumed malfunction. Solar interference. Human incompetence. Then the wreckage appeared. Long-range sensors picked up drifting hull fragments, twisted armor and shattered shields, Concorde shields. The kind believed to be unbreakable by any protected species. The Ring of Voices convened an emergency session. "This is impossible," Speaker Threxel said, his calm voice cracking for the first time in 3 centuries. "Their weapons cannot penetrate our defenses." "They didn't," replied strategist Kale of the Athari, his feathers bristling. "They bypassed them." A hologram played. Human ships, still crude in appearance, moved in erratic patterns. No formation. No symmetry. They accelerated hard, then cut engines completely. Concorde targeting systems struggled to predict them. Then came the impact. Not energy beams. Not plasma. Mass. Asteroids wrapped in human alloys. Relativistic projectiles launched from extreme range. Missiles that split into dozens of thinking fragments, each choosing a different vector. The Concorde fleet never fired a coordinated volley. "They turned physics into a weapon," Kale whispered. On Earth, Admiral Elias Rowe watched the same footage from a different angle. "Damage report?" he asked. "Minimal," replied Commander Sofia Alvarez. 1 destroyer scraped its hull. No casualties. Rowe exhaled slowly. Humanity's first real test had worked. But victory tasted bitter. "They forced our hand," Alvarez said. "Now the galaxy knows." Rowe nodded. "Good. Fear travels faster than ships." The Concorde response was swift and wrong. They imposed sanctions, trade blocks, travel bans. They declared humanity dangerously unstable and authorized a containment war. But they still underestimated them. Instead of one massive invasion, the Concorde sent waves, measured force, escalating pressure. Human strategists smiled grimly. "That means they don't understand us," General Anika Rao said during the War Council. "They think we'll break." Dr. June Park brought up a star map. "They also think we defend territory like they do." Rowe leaned forward. "We don't." "No," Rao said. "We defend ideas." The first battles erupted on the edges of human space. At the moon Kepri 9, a Concorde task force encountered what looked like a civilian evacuation. They slowed. They scanned. They died. Human ships emerged from the moon's shadow, engines burning hot enough to melt their own hull plating. They rammed, fired, and vanished into micro-jumps so short Concorde sensors could not track them. A Celathi captain screamed as her command node was hacked mid-battle. Human code flooded her systems. Not elegant, not clean, but aggressive, adaptive, learning as it attacked. She barely escaped. Her report shook the Concorde. "Human weapons evolved during combat," she said. "They are not fixed. They are alive." Alien worlds reacted with disbelief. How can a young species fight like this? They should not have this coordination. They are supposed to fear us. But humanity did not fear extinction. They were familiar with it. On Mars, factories ran without pause. Civilians volunteered in numbers the Concorde could not comprehend. "Why do they fight so hard?" Lura asked quietly during a closed council session. "They could surrender. Live." Threxel answered slowly. "Because they believe something worse than death awaits if they do." The turning point came at the Battle of Helios Gate. A massive Concorde fleet arrived, over 100 warships, to cut off Earth from its colonies. Human forces were outnumbered 3-1. Concorde commanders were confident. Until the gate exploded. Humans had mined space itself, collapsing stable jump corridors with carefully timed detonations. Concorde ships emerged off course, colliding, scattering, isolated. Then the humans spoke. A broadcast cut across all frequencies. Admiral Rowe appeared on alien screens, scarred, calm. "You tried to cage us," he said. "You tried to decide our future without asking." His eyes hardened. "This ends now." Human fleets surged, not in lines but in swarms, packs, and feints. Individual captains made independent calls, sacrificing ships to open paths, exploiting every hesitation. The Concorde fleet broke. Not destroyed. Broken. Retreat signals echoed across the void. In the ring of voices, panic finally replaced arrogance. "We underestimated them," Kale admitted. "No," Threxel said, staring at the burning star map. "We misunderstood them." "What are they?" Lura whispered. Threxel answered with dread. They are what happens when survival becomes culture. Far from the council, on a quiet human ship drifting among the stars, Admiral Rowe watched alien fleets withdraw. This is only the beginning, Alvarez said. Rowe nodded. Now they're paying attention. And that was exactly what humanity wanted. Fear did not spread through the galaxy like fire. Fire was fast. Fear was patient. It crept through trade routes, into council chambers, into the dreams of species who had never imagined losing. Convoys delayed their journeys. Border worlds reinforced defenses that had not been tested in centuries. Ancient admirals reread old war doctrines, searching for mistakes that had never mattered before. Humanity had not conquered a single alien world. Yet the galaxy was afraid. The Galactic Concord attempted diplomacy. They framed it as mercy. An official delegation was sent to Sol under white signal protocols older than humanity's written language. Their ships entered cautiously, weapons powered down but ready. They were met by silence. For 6 hours the delegation waited in orbit. Then a single human vessel approached. It was small. Unarmed. Its hull bore no weapons ports at all. Ambassador Amara Vance stood on its bridge. "You're late," Threxel said when the channel opened, struggling to maintain authority. Amara's expression was calm, but her eyes were cold. "So were you," she replied. The meeting took place on Luna, inside a chamber carved directly into stone. No holograms. No illusions. Just metal chairs and gravity at full Earth standard. Several alien delegates shifted uncomfortably. "This environment is excessive," Lura said gently. Amara smiled faintly. "This is normal for us." Threxel wasted no time. "The Concord offers revised terms. Autonomy. Trade access. A seat at the council, eventually." "Eventually," Amara repeated. "Yes," Threxel said. "Once stability is demonstrated." General Anika Rao leaned forward. "You mean once we stop being dangerous?" Silence. Amara stood. "You want peace," she said. "But you still speak like owners negotiating with property." Threxel bristled. "You should be grateful. Many species would have been erased." Amara's voice hardened. "So would we. Many times. We're still here." She activated a display. It showed human history. Wars. Collapses. Rebuilding. Again. And again. "You fear us because we learn faster under pressure," she said. "And because you created that pressure." Threxel studied the images. "For the first time," he said slowly, "the Concord faces an equal." Amara shook her head. "No," she said. "You're facing something worse." While talk stalled, the war evolved. Human fleets did not push forward. They pulled back. They abandoned systems deliberately, leaving behind traps hidden in asteroid belts and data nets seeded with false intelligence. Concord fleets advanced cautiously, too cautiously. Supply lines stretched. Then vanished. Human raiders struck logistics ships, repair yards, command relays. Always moving. Always adapting. Never staying long enough to be pinned. A Celt commander slammed his claw into a console. "They refused decisive battle," he roared. A human analyst watching the intercepted feed smiled. "That is decisive," she said. The galaxy learned another truth. Humans fought best when outmatched. They did not rely on perfect plans. They relied on fallback plans and fallback plans for those fallback plans. They lost ships. They lost people. And each loss made them sharper. Concord commanders noticed something terrifying. Human casualty tolerance was not high. It was purposeful. Every sacrifice achieved something: data, time, position. Nothing was wasted. At the edge of Concord space, an ancient world burned. Not from human attack. From rebellion. A minor species, long suppressed, watched human broadcasts and realized something dangerous. The Concord could bleed. Insurrections flared. Trade worlds refused taxes. Client species demanded rights. The Concord accused humanity of inciting chaos. Humanity did not deny it. "We didn't start your cracks," Amara said during a later transmission. "We just showed the light through them." The breaking moment came when the Concord deployed the Eclipse fleet. Ancient ships. Pre-Concord. Weapons banned by treaty because they erased stars' worth of life. The message was clear. Submit or be erased. On Earth, the United Council went silent. Admiral Rowe spoke last. "They're afraid," he said. "Enough to show their true face." General Rao nodded. "And now the galaxy sees it too." Dr. Park added quietly, "We have one response left." Rowe turned to him. "Are we ready?" Park hesitated. Then nodded. We always were. We just hoped we wouldn't need it. At the heart of human space, something ancient awoke. Not a weapon. A network. Humanity had never centralized its power. It had distributed it. Every ship. Every station. Every colony mind-linked, not by command but by trust. A living strategy. The Concorde would face not fleets, but a species thinking together. When the Eclipse fleet crossed the border, they expected resistance. What they met was silence. Then the stars themselves began to move. Gravity bent in ways Concorde science insisted were impossible. Human voices filled every channel. Come, united. This is your final warning, Amara said. You pushed too far. The Eclipse fleet vanished from sensors. Not destroyed. Removed. The galaxy screamed. In the ring of voices, delegates stared in horror. Threxel whispered, "What have they become?" Lura answered softly. They always were this. They had just been underestimated. The disappearance of the Eclipse fleet shattered the galaxy's sense of reality. Those ships were not merely destroyed. There were no debris fields. No energy signatures. No survivors. One moment they existed. The next, space itself behaved as if they never had. Ancient records were searched. Forbidden archives opened. Species that had not spoken in millennia whispered again. Nothing explained what the humans had done. That frightened everyone. The Galactic Concorde demanded answers. Amara Vance provided them. In a transmission broadcast to every known world, she stood alone against a field of stars. "You think we built a superweapon," she said. "You're wrong." She raised her hand and data flowed. Human science was revealed, not schematics but philosophy. "We never believed the universe was safe," Amara continued. "So we learned how to live inside danger." The Eclipse fleet had not been erased. It had been redirected. Humanity had mastered controlled spatial instability, not tearing space apart but folding it temporarily. The fleet was displaced into intergalactic void, alive, intact, and utterly lost. No weapon, just understanding. The Concorde reeled. "This violates natural law," Threxel said weakly. Dr. June Park replied calmly through the channel. "No," he said. "It follows it. You just stopped asking new questions." Human worlds did not celebrate. They prepared. Because humans understood something the Concorde did not. Fear makes enemies desperate. The Concorde fractured. Some species called for peace. Others demanded annihilation. The Celt prepared a last war, arming every ship they had. Their warlord spoke openly. "If humans cannot be ruled," he snarled, "they must be erased before they infect the galaxy." But many fleets refused. For the first time in its history, the Concorde's orders were questioned. At the same time, humanity made its most dangerous move. They advanced. Not with fleets. With envoys. Human diplomats arrived on suppressed worlds, not offering weapons but choices. "We won't rule you," they said. "We won't protect you forever. But we'll stand with you while you decide who you want to be." Worlds listened. Then joined. A new coalition formed, not an empire but an alliance bound by shared risk. The Concorde saw its influence evaporate. Admiral Rowe watched the star map shift. "We're winning without firing," Alvarez said quietly. Rowe shook his head. "No. We're making them decide who they really are." The Celt struck anyway. A massive armada launched toward Earth, ignoring Concorde authority. They intended decapitation. Human sensors detected them instantly. General Rao addressed the council. "They're coming straight at us," she said. "No civilians targeted. This is pride." Rowe stood. "Then we end it cleanly." The Battle of Seoul was not flashy. It was precise. Human fleets did not charge. They layered space with traps that activated only under Celt sensor logic. Celt weapons fired at ghosts. Their formations collapsed under misinformation. Human ships struck command vessels first. Always the head. Within hours, the Celt armada was disabled, drifting, alive but powerless. The warlord transmitted one final message. "You could have destroyed us," he said. "Why didn't you?" Rowe answered. "Because we don't need to." That moment echoed across the galaxy. Humanity could end wars without genocide. They could defeat ancient powers without becoming monsters. The Concorde had no answer for that. In the ring of voices, Threxel addressed the council one last time. "The age of unquestioned rule is over," he said. "We face a species that grew strong without permission." Lura turned her gaze to the stars. "They are not conquerors," she said. "They are proof." Humanity issued its final terms. No Concorde supremacy. No protected species. No silent cages. Every world sovereign. Every voice equal. Or humanity would simply leave, taking its trade, its science, and its alliance with it. The galaxy understood the threat. It was not violence. It was irrelevance. The Concord dissolved. Not in fire. In silence. On Earth, Amara Vance stood beside Admiral Rowe as the final vote came in. "We didn't dominate them," she said. Rowe nodded. "We outgrew them." She smiled faintly. "And we survived being underestimated." Far beyond known space, the lost Eclipse fleet drifted, alive, untouched, staring into endless dark. Humanity had not destroyed them. Just reminded the galaxy. Power does not always look like a weapon. The galaxy did not become peaceful. It became different. Empires did not fall overnight. Borders did not vanish. Old grudges still burned. But something fundamental had shifted like a star-changing phase. The galactic concord was gone, and in the space it left behind, everyone had to decide who they were without it. And at the center of that change stood humanity. The Free Systems Compact was born quietly. No grand ceremony. No throne world. Just signatures, shared protocols, and mutual defense clauses written in dozens of languages. Human diplomats insisted on something strange. No permanent leadership, Amara Vance told the gathered delegates. "We rotate responsibility. Power must get tired of itself." Some species laughed nervously. Others listened very carefully. Human technology spread, but not freely. Instead of handing over weapons, humans shared methods. How to think in layers. How to plan for failure. How to adapt faster than fear. It frustrated many worlds. They wanted human ships, human drives, human shields. Humans gave them understanding instead. And slowly, alien engineers began to realize the terrifying truth. Human technology was not superior because it was advanced. It was superior because it expected to break. Not everyone accepted the new order. In the void beyond mapped space, something ancient watched. The Virex Continuum had observed the Concord for millennia. Silent. Patient. A distributed intelligence that consumed civilizations when they became predictable. The Concord had been predictable. Humanity was not. That made the Virex curious. Curiosity for them meant preparation. The first Virex probe entered human-aligned space disguised as cosmic debris. Human sensors flagged it instantly. Pattern anomaly, an AI noted. Dr. June Park frowned. That shouldn't be possible. Admiral Rowe leaned in. Then it is. The probe did not attack. It observed. Then it left. Humanity understood the message. Something older than the Concord had noticed them. The Free Systems Compact argued. Let it pass, some said. We've had enough war. Others feared what waited in the dark. Humanity listened. Then acted. They did not mobilize fleets. They mobilized minds. Every member world was invited into a shared defensive network. Not commanded, but synchronized. Each species kept autonomy but agreed to share threat perception. The system was messy, imperfect, alive. Aliens found it exhausting. Humans found it natural. The Virex returned. This time not with probes but with absence. Stars went dim. Civilizations vanished without explosions, without signals. Just gone. The Compact panicked. How do we fight something we can't see? A delegate cried. Rowe answered quietly. You don't. You make it see you. Humanity baited the Virex. They made themselves loud. Predictable. They spread false patterns, deliberate routines, simulated weakness. The Virex struck. And found nothing it expected. Human space fractured into independent defense clusters instantly, denying the Virex its preferred method. Total pattern collapse. Human ships sacrificed themselves to map Virex behavior, feeding data back in real time. Painful. Necessary. The first real battle with the Virex lasted 3 minutes. Human losses were severe. Virex losses were conceptual. Their attack models failed. Their predictions fractured. For the first time in their existence, the Continuum encountered a species that adapted faster than it could consume. A Virex node spoke. Directly. To humanity. You are inefficient, it said. You suffer unnecessarily. Amara Vance replied. Yes, she said. That's how we know we're alive. The war was not won. But it was changed. The Virex withdrew, not defeated but reconsidering. The galaxy exhaled. In the aftermath, alien species looked at humanity with something new. Not fear. Not worship. Recognition. You carry the weight of the future, Lura said during a private message to Amara. Amara shook her head. No, she replied. We share it. On Earth, Admiral Rowe prepared to retire. Alvarez stood beside him, watching ships move across the stars. Do you think they'll ever stop underestimating us? She asked. Rowe smiled faintly. I hope not, he said. It keeps us honest. Far beyond known space, the Virex watched humanity grow. Not as an empire. As a pattern that refused to settle. For the first time, the ancient continuum felt something close to caution. And somewhere in the dark between galaxies, something else stirred. Something even older. Because the universe had noticed humanity too. The galaxy began to ask a dangerous question. Not out loud at first. Not in councils or broadcasts. It surfaced in private channels, in quiet exchanges between leaders who had lost sleep watching human ships cross their skies. If humanity could stop the Concorde, if humanity could stall the Virex, what stopped humanity? The Free Systems Compact expanded rapidly. Too rapidly. Worlds that had once mocked humans now requested protection. Some asked for guidance. Others asked for permission. Humanity refused the last. But refusal alone did not stop dependence. Amara Vance felt it every day. They're orbiting us, she said during a closed Human Council session. Politically, economically, culturally. General Anika Rao crossed her arms. We never wanted to lead. Admiral Rowe, older now, tired but sharp, replied quietly, no one who deserves to lead ever does. The room fell silent. Alien resentment grew alongside gratitude. Some species whispered that humans were manipulating events. Others accused them of engineering chaos so they could play savior. Humanity heard everything. They did not censor it. They studied it. Because humans understood something critical. Power changes how others see you even if you stay the same. Then the warning came. Not from the Virex. From something worse. The Keros silence. An absence detected beyond intergalactic void. Not an intelligence like the Virex. Not a fleet. Not even a pattern. A boundary. Where physics degraded. Where causality frayed. Ancient records, fragmented, terrified, called it the end state. Civilizations that encountered it did not lose wars. They lost meaning. Dr. June Park addressed the compact with uncharacteristic tension. This is not something we fight, he said. It's something we avoid, or outgrow. A delegate cried out, then what do we do? All eyes turned to humanity. To Amara. She did not answer immediately. The pressure peaked when a coalition of allied worlds proposed the unthinkable. A permanent human-led command. Unified fleets. Central authority. A galactic spine. You already act as one, the Celathi representative said gently. Why not make it official? Amara closed her eyes. She saw history. Empires that began with protection. Leaders who promised restraint. Species who believed they were different. Humans had written those stories themselves. They knew how they ended. On Earth, the public was divided. Some wanted leadership. Some wanted isolation. Some wanted to burn it all down before something worse arrived. Human cities filled with debate, protest, fear. Humanity did not fracture. They argued. Loudly. Endlessly. Productively. Admiral Rowe met Amara one last time before leaving office. You're standing at the edge, he said. Of what? She asked. He looked up at the stars. Of becoming the answer to every problem. She swallowed. And if I refuse? Then the galaxy grows without a crutch, he said. Slower. Harder. But honest. The Keros silence expanded. Worlds near its edge reported time distortion. Memory loss. Identity drift. Panic surged. The compact demanded action. Amara made her choice. Humanity would not rule the galaxy. They would change how it faced the future. Instead of forming a central command, humanity released its greatest creation. Not a weapon. Not a fleet. A framework. Open. Decentralized. Impossible to own. A way for civilizations to cooperate without surrendering identity. Shared survival without shared chains. The human strategic network, once private, was given away. Every flaw included. Every weakness visible. You'll break it, warned human critics. Amara nodded. That's the point. The galaxy struggled with it. It was uncomfortable. There was no throne. No single voice. No species could dominate without consensus. Progress slowed. But resilience soared. When the Keros silence reached the first compact world, it did not find obedience. It found diversity. Different physics experiments. Different responses. Different sacrifices. The silence did not stop. But it hesitated. For the first time, it encountered a civilization that could not be summarized. A message echoed through human space, originating from the edge. Not words. Not thoughts. A sensation. Confusion. Dr. Park stared at the data. It doesn't know what to erase, he whispered. The galaxy watched humanity step back. Not vanish. Not weaken. But refuse the apex. And in that refusal, something extraordinary happened. Others stepped forward. Amara stood before the stars one final time, addressing all known worlds. We were underestimated, she said. Then feared. Then depended on. She breathed in. We refuse to be the end of your story. Her voice steadied. We choose to be the proof that survival doesn't require supremacy. Far beyond comprehension, the Caro's silence recoiled, not defeated but disrupted. Because it had been built to end civilizations. Not to face a future that would not centralize. Humanity did not become rulers. They became the standard. And that, perhaps, was more dangerous. Only one chapter remained. The moment when the galaxy would finally understand. Why humans were never meant to be gods. But something far rarer. The galaxy did not end in fire. It almost never does. It ended in a decision. The Caro's silence continued to exist. It did not retreat fully. It did not advance as before. It lingered at the edges of reality, probing, testing, uncertain. For the first time in its unknowable existence, it faced a future that could not be compressed into a single outcome. Civilizations adapted around it. Not because they were commanded. Because they had learned how. Humanity watched from the center of nothing. Earth was no longer the political heart of the galaxy. It had no throne. No supreme council. No permanent fleets stationed in foreign skies. And yet, every species watched humans closely. Not for orders. For example. Years passed. The Free Systems Compact evolved into something unnamed. It was not an alliance. Not a union. Not an empire. It was a habit. The habit of talking before conquering. Of planning before panicking. Of accepting loss without surrendering meaning. Humanity had taught that habit by living it. Amara Vance was older now. She stood on a quiet overlook above the Pacific Ocean. The sky streaked with orbital traffic from 100 species. None of them were owned. None of them asked permission to pass. That mattered. A young aide approached her. They're asking again, he said softly. Who? She asked, already knowing. Several worlds near the Caro's boundary. They want a human task force. Direct control. Amara smiled sadly. Tell them no. The aide hesitated. They're afraid. So were we, she replied. Far from Earth, at the boundary of the silence, something unprecedented happened. A joint expedition, led by no single species, crossed the edge. Human ships were present. So were Celathi thinkers. Ithari scientists. Even former Celt warriors, scarred and silent. The silence reacted. Reality bent. Memories blurred. Some ships did not return. Those that did brought back something impossible. Understanding. The silence was not an enemy. It was an end condition. A natural consequence of civilizations that centralized too completely, consumed too predictably, and collapsed into sameness. The universe had a way of pruning certainty. Humanity had never been certain. Dr. June Park reviewed the findings with shaking hands. It doesn't erase life, he said. It erases inevitability. General Rao exhaled slowly. Then we were never its target. No, Park agreed. We were its contradiction. The galaxy finally understood. Humanity's power had never been their weapons. Or their fleets. Or their science. It was their refusal to finalize. They did not seek perfect systems. They built systems that expected to fail, and learned from it. Again. And again. And again. The Virex continuum made its choice. It withdrew entirely. A message lingered in its wake, fragmented but clear enough. Unstable systems. An unconsumable. A void. For the first time in known history, a galactic predator marked a species as not worth eating. The ring of voices no longer existed. But a memorial floated where it once had. No names carved in stone. Only a single human phrase translated into every known language. We were wrong. Centuries later, alien historians would debate the moment the galaxy changed. Some pointed to the destruction of the Concorde. Others to the vanishing of the Eclipse fleet. Others still to humanity's refusal to rule. But human scholars agreed on one moment. The moment the galaxy pushed too far. And humanity pushed back. Not with domination. But with defiance against inevitability itself. A human child stood in a classroom on Earth, listening to a story. Were humans the strongest? The child asked. The teacher smiled. No, she said. They were the most stubborn. Is that better? The teacher looked up at the stars. Yes, she said softly. Much better. Humanity never became gods. They became something harder. A species that survived being underestimated, survived being feared, survived being needed, and chose, every day, not to become a monster. At the edge of reality, the Karo's silence remained, but it no longer advanced. It waited, because the universe had learned something new. Some civilizations end. Some conquer. Some rule. But a rare few change the rules so completely that even the end must adapt. And so the galaxy learned the final truth. When it pushed too far, humanity pushed back. Not to win, but to ensure there was still a future worth surviving.